During war, not only rifles, bullets, or cannons fight. War is a multi-dimensional phenomenon. Although defense industry products stand out of this phenomenon, psychology and media are also important parts of it. The side that protects psychology and uses the media can gain superiority in war. So much so that the media tools developed in the last century greatly affected the course of the war. This is also the case in the Russia-Ukraine war these days. In our report we prepared in the past days, we shared with you the allegations that Russian Admiral Sukolov was killed. There are new developments on this issue. The administration of the Russian Federation is trying to prove that Sukolov was not killed. However, the opinion of experts are quite different. So, Admiral Sukolov dead? Is the Russian Federation lying? Let's examine the latest developments together. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss the daily map report prepared by the Pioneer team and our report on the agenda. You can also support me and my team by using the Super Thanks button located at the bottom of the video. Let's start if you're ready. The Pioneer reports. As you may recall, in our previous reports, I shared with you allegations that Admiral Sukolov of the Russian Black Sea Fleet was killed. The source of these allegations were Budanov, the director of the Ukrainian military intelligence. In addition, many unofficial sources also claim that Admiral Sukolov was killed during the Ukrainian army's attacks on the Crimean Peninsula. According to the latest report, Sokolov's condition remains unclear. However, there was a meeting held in Russia recently. This meeting should be interpreted as a part of the media war we have just mentioned, because the Russian administration did not make an official statements about the Admiral Sukolov. However, it preferred to pass it off with a different method. But quite different allegations were put forward about Sukolov. The Russian administration may be hiding the death of Admiral Sukolov. It is seen that Sukolov also attended the meeting by remote connection method. However, there is a different situation here. Russian Defense Ministry Sergei Shoigu is also making a speech at the meeting. But we see two different Shoigu in the images of the meeting in question. In some of the images of the meeting, Shoigu appears with a very different face, while the parts of Sukolov also appears. We encounter a different Shoigu. Therefore, many sources claim that these images were specially edited to hide Sokolov's death. We said that the Russian administration did not make any statements about Sukolov. This situation shows that the images related to Sukolov may be part of the media war. Here I would like to explain the meaning of the phrase media war. If the Ukrainian military claims are true and Sukolov was killed in the attacks on the Crimean Peninsula, this would be a major disaster for the Russian Navy. Because with the killing of Sukolov, the Russian army has been left without a commander in the Black Sea for the time being. This situation will have a very negative impact on the Russian Navy in the long time. In addition, the fact that Sukolov was killed by the Ukrainian army will also affect the Russian commanders, namely during this war. The events of the Black Sea were much less than the events on the territory of Ukraine. In other words, the Black Sea region was safer than the Ukrainian territory. We can also express this as the threat faced by the Russian troops and commanders were less in the Black Sea. However, the assassination of the senior Sukolov at the point where the threat was so low would cause a great fear to the Russian commanders on the main front line. If the Sukolov was killed in the region where the danger is low, what will happen in the region where the danger is high? Russian commanders are now afraid even answer this question. This is exactly where the media war begins. If the commanders of the Russian army are faced with such a fear, it means the collapse of the front line. The leadership of the Russian Federation is trying to prevent this. The easiest way to do this is to make it look like Sukolov is alive without any explanation. This is what the Russian leadership is allegedly doing now. That is, it is using fake and edited images to hide Sokolov's death. Whether these allegations are true or not will be revealed in the coming days. But here we think that the allegations that the Russian army is hiding something sound quite true. Because if Sukolov was alive, he should have appeared in front of the cameras and mobilized his soldiers. In other words, just being filmed at a meeting does not show that Sukolov is definitely alive. Even this situation would cause discomfort and fear in the Russian troops. This fear will lead to the disintegration of the Russian positions as the Ukrainian counteroffensive continues. We will continue to monitor this situation. The Ukrainian army continues its counterattack operation while the Russian army is struggling with internal problems and losses. As you know, throughout the war, the Ukrainian army inflicted heavy losses on the Russian army with HIMARS missiles provided by the United States. According to the latest reports, the Ukrainian army continues to hit the Russian army using the HIMARS missiles. We do not cover the Kherson region very often in our map reports. You know the Kherson region. In the majority of this region, the occupation of the Russian army has been terminated. Ukrainian troops have also established areas of control around the Dnieper River. As a matter of fact, this region is a very important route for the Ukrainian army's goals of Crimean Peninsula. There are many command centers of the Russian army in this region. These command centers are of a great importance for the command and administration of the Russian troops in the region. Recently, artillery units of the Ukrainian army targeted one of these command centers. I would like to share the details of this operation with you. According to the allegations, artillery units of the Ukrainian army had been following the command center for a long time. Officers of the 24th Motor Rifle Regiment of the Russian army regularly had meetings in this command center. Ukrainian intelligence and reconnaissance units monitored this command center for a long time and determined the day of the meeting of the Russian officers. On the day of the last meeting of the officers of the Russian 24th Motorized Rifle Regiment, Ukrainian artillery units mobilized. The command center building was hit by HIMARS missiles. The command center was completely destroyed. After the attack on Mandarial vehicle of the armored forces of Ukraine also moved to the region. In the images taken, it is seen that the command center building was completely destroyed. According to the information obtained from Ukraine and local sources, 8 Russian soldiers were killed and 7 soldiers were wounded during this attack. This attack was met with a great shock on all Russian sources because this region had been quiet for a long time. In addition, the fact that the attack targeted Russian officers and destroyed them was another detail that shocked Russian sources. In the coming days, we can see the effects of this attack more clearly in the Kherson region. So, what do you think? Do you think Sukolov is dead? Do you think there is an attempt by the Russian leadership to conceal Sokolov's death? How do you think Sokolov's death will be affected on the Russian commanders? How do you assess the offensive of the Ukrainian army in Kherson? Do you think the Ukrainian army will carry out more offensive in the regions? Let me know in the comments. I read and care about all your comments.